services and whatnot, I still wrote 15. And I lost probably 4 deals because the connection was so bad with the internet not being able to actually get through the application or the call because
Duh.
it was so damn bad.
Yeah. Well, that's what I want to talk about, man. So we're gonna go ahead and jump right in, and we're gonna start in three, two, one. Hey, everybody! Welcome to the Rainmaker Podcast, and today we have one of my favorite clients, Jeremy Hayes, and he's gonna be showing you guys how, if you can put in the work, you can have the success to build the business of your dreams. Jeremy, man, thanks for hopping on the Rainmaker Podcast. Great to have you.
Appreciate the opportunity to be here, Arturo. It's been a great year getting to know you guys and working with you, and just honestly, at the risk of sounding like I'm puckering up to kiss your backside, um, it's been a true blessing being able to meet you guys, because working with people that have a similar vision and a similar work ethic is rare in today's world. So thank you.
Yeah, appreciate that. And so that's kind of what I want to do is I want to kind of go back to the beginning. How did you even get in the life insurance business in the first place?
Well, my background is I've always been in some form of sales, operations, marketing, everything. And as you can see, at just full transparency, I'm in an Airbnb right now back in Wichita, Kansas, because my grandmother passed away 2 weeks ago. And the first Airbnb, I had to find a different one because the internet was so bad that my calls were dropping. I couldn't hardly get through applications. I actually lost a few deals, but was still fortunate enough to be able to write 15,000 even in 4 days last week, dealing with funeral proceedings and whatnot. But so I had to find one that actually had the internet speed that they said they did versus saying, "Oh, we've got blazing fast Wi-Fi," and then I get in there and it's literally a snail at best. I mean, it was a nightmare. So it's been humbling. It's been
Yeah,
humbling to be able to get through all that.
for sure.
So anyway, sidebar. I got into insurance because, like I said, my background's always been operations, sales, everything along those lines. And um, when my last role was, I was a department director for a recruiting company in pharma, and the owner of the company that I met and personally asked me to come work with him and work for him, he died in 2020, in April of 2020. Not COVID. Okay. He had multiple tests ran. It wasn't COVID, but he ended up stroking out from an infection that went to his heart and then went to his brain. He died. And the person that was put in charge as the acting executive VP um, was a nightmare at best. I mean, there were 3 people I wanted to get rid of because they were just cancers to the team. And she wouldn't let me because they were her pets, so to speak. And that's what made me say, I got to get out of here and find something to do on my own again. So that's when I started searching and looking around to be able to find a few different industries to dive into. And insurance had always been in my mind for like the last 5, 10 years. And so I just decided to take the chance. I saw an ad from one of the IMOs I work with and jumped on it and got into it. And now that I'm in it, I'm sitting here thinking I should have been this thing 10 years ago, man. I'd be worth, with the way that you know me and the way that we work and the way that I work. If I would have been in this even like 5, 6 years ago, I'd be worth 8 figures.
Yeah. So let's talk about that. What year was the last year of you being in operations with the previous company? I think you said Pharma, right? What year was
Yeah,
that?
2021.
Okay, so 2021. So yeah, a lot, and I think that that's important to note that the transformation and the journey that we're about to go on isn't a very long one, right? And
No.
so it's one of those things where you're presented with a problem, and I love how you started looking for solutions as just complaining about the problems in your situation. You looked
Yeah.
for a solution and something that you're like, okay, I think I can do that. So let's try that. So you're met with the problem, and then it was 2021 where you made the transition, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
hmm
What was the transition like from going from getting a paycheck to being a 1099 commission, trying to sell a product? What was that like for you?
Well, if I can give you a little background onto why my mindset is the way that it is, it wasn't very difficult at all, because prior to being in that position, actually 2 careers before that specific role, I had actually launched a company before with a couple other guys in Denver, Colorado. And at one point, just to be blatant, and so anybody that listens to this knows my mindset, we were, our company wasn't performing the way that it needed to. Our reps weren't performing. And so we got to a point where it was like, okay, we can't just sit in the office. We got to go out and lead from the front. We got to lead by example, because otherwise we're not going to be able to pay these guys. We're not going to be able to pay ourselves. And ended up losing my apartment. And actually, for 2 months, while we were really getting things back on track, I mean, I was sleeping in my car. I'll be completely transparent with you. I have no problem saying that out there. And so the transition from going from salaried paycheck to 1099 again, I had a good chunk saved up, so that was a difference this time. But I started thinking of how can I not spend what I have saved, and how can I start making money? So, I signed up to drive Lyft and Uber. And what I did was I printed out business cards. I had a clipboard in the front seat next to me, and I'd be driving people around, and they'd say something along the lines of, "What else do you do besides this?" And I jokingly say, "Oh, I'm glad you think I'm smart enough to do something more than just drive a car." Yeah. So, and in the Dallas Fort Worth area, and so I'd tell them, and if it was something they were genuinely interested in, then instead of saying, "Oh yeah, so just here's my card," which is going to go in the trash, I'd take the clipboard and say, "Is this something you're actually truly looking at? Because if so, I definitely want to see what I can do to help you. And what's the best time to contact you? I'll definitely give you my card, my contact info, all that. But what's your name, number, and sometimes if they were reluctant, I'd just hand it to them and sit there parked until they filled the thing out."
Mm.
And so that's how I started generating warm, quote unquote, leads that I didn't have to spend money on, but I was actually making money on, writing a few policies, so I could get to the point that instead of spending what I had saved, I was already generating income that I could use to buy more. So that's how I started.
Wow, that is amazing, and what's funny? I'm not surprised by that at all, because it's a funny thing that they say that successful people, the difference between successful people and unsuccessful people is unsuccessful people think that they lack resources, but they actually just lack resourcefulness to get the job done. And so a lot of people could be like, "Man, I'm so tired from driving Uber and Lyft. I don't have time to try to build my business." Right. But at the same
Yeah.
time, you're like, "No, dude, I'm going to build and try to get paid, right, for my business while I'm working this job," which is just incredible. So how long, when you first started, did you do that before you actually like went full time in insurance?
Well, that I'll admit, that was the one mistake that I did make, because I didn't go full time in insurance. I started, you know me, and you know that one of my blessings and curses is that when I see something I believe I could be really good at, I want to prove that I am. And then I prove it, but then I'm like, damn it, now I'm on the hook to make sure I can maintain that.
Right.
And so, because I actually, I started a business consulting agency. I've dipped my toe into, mergers and acquisitions as well. And so I didn't go full time into insurance literally until October of 2022. So October of last year. So I was still running the other things as well, but it only took me, you know, a month before I didn't have to drive Lyft and Uber to find leads and all that anymore. And the others were rolling too. I don't really do those as much anymore because my focus is this. Um, and so that's where it only took me a month to get to that point. But I mean, I'd go run appointments on, like Friday afternoon, Saturday and Sunday. And then I'd go out back, and I'm like, it's busy enough on the weekends in the Dallas Fort Worth area. I can go make another $150 in 3-4 hours driving. So I do that. And that's just more money to buy more leads with.
Yeah, for sure. So, and the funny thing is because you kind of moved to the beat of your own drum. So, what was like your process and system to like? Because you said you didn't have to do it after about
Mhm.
a month. So, walk me through what your process was back then. It may look different than it does now, but like, what were you doing back then to be able to make enough to where you didn't need to work, but you were just using that as more gas fuel to put on the fire?
once I got to a point where I was writing, on average like 3,000 a weekend, then my mindset was okay, you know, if I can set 10 appointments throughout the week on top of the other stuff that I'm running, okay, great. Well, then I will continue to drive in between and go run my consulting appointments and all that as well. So like if I didn't have something on the calendar, I was driving in between because I'm like it's extra cash, right? But so I was up at about 4:45 every morning, do whatever I needed to do to get ready for the day. And then my first appointment, whether it be insurance or consulting, always started at about 9. And from that point, then it was in between. I'd hit a few rides here and there, and that's just how I ran things literally up until October of last year because the majority of it was in person still at that point in time. There wasn't a lot of virtual telesales, telewrites, whatever you want to call it. And so I was driving all over, Dallas, Fort Worth. And when I would get referrals or I would buy leads and they'd be in a different area of Texas, I mean, I'd drive down to Waco, Temple, San Antonio, Austin, uh, Oklahoma, Louisiana, wherever they were. And so that's just what I did. And I structured my weeks around that and made sure I had appointments for each type of business. Like the consulting thing, a lot of it was cold calling during that
Mm.
time.
Yeah.
Um, so to set up those appointments, and then that's just what I did. And it was 6, 7 days a week. But it was because I needed, my mindset is like, even if you say you got 100 grand in your account, my mindset is I'm still broke.
Right.
And it's not because I'm trying to sit there and be, forgive my language, such a hard ass that I don't enjoy life a little bit. But I always look at when I see people get 20, $30,000 in the bank and they start living like they've got 10 million. Well, how fast do those people end up broken? Now they're back at square one. So I've seen that so often that my mindset is like I'm never where I need to be. I'm never where I need to be. And it's not that I don't enjoy it. It's I just understand money is a tool and you got to respect it, if that makes
Yeah,
any sense.
for sure. So how long did you do in person sales? Because you're doing telesales 100%. Or are you still doing any in person stuff right now?
I only do in person if it's in the Dallas Fort Worth area, or if I'm back in Kansas, or I told you I think I actually do have an office in DC now too,
Okay.
um, but that I will only do in person if it's like a really big case, if it's somebody that's a referral and I know
Mm-hmm.
they need a little bit more of a personal touch, but 98% is all virtual.
Okay. And so what is what's the thing that kind of unlocked your business where you went from 10K a month to the jump of, and I'm just making these numbers up because I want to hear what your progression was, but from 10K a month to 30K a month to all the way up to what you did last month was 107K a month. Like, what was the progression? Was it going full time, or was it doing telesales? Like, what was the thing that really opened and unlocked all your potential, and when it all kind of came together?
Going full time. I went when I went full time. My first month going full time, I did 42. Um, After that, I started saying, okay, yeah, I know I can obviously do this, but I know I'm also limited in this area because of the fact that I got to drive everywhere. I got to set up all these additional appointments. I got to, it's gas, hotels, Airbnb, whatever. And so that's when I started looking at more of the virtual side of things because I was licensed in so many states I can make it work. And that's when I shifted towards trying to find people that were in the marketing world where the telesales side of it was wasn't going to be something I had to figure out on my own, if that makes any kind of sense. And I could piggyback off of what they had already established, and then create my own signature and my own style to it. So it went literally from 10, 15, maybe 20 when I was doing it part time to first month was 42, and I'm sitting there going, I can easily do this. I can easily do this. I just got to find the right people to get into business with that I've already built marketing um, companies that I don't have to reinvent the wheel and just say, okay, how much does it cost? What do we got to do? I'm in, let's roll. And that's when I connected with you guys.
Yeah, and I want to bring that up because one of the things that I'm noticing now is that like some insurance agents just get online and they like watch a YouTube ad, or there's some agent with a side hustle that's like, hey, I can get you some leads, and they've never like produced anything. And then what we've realized from doing some research from agents that have run their own ads, because you were running your own when you partnered with us, is that I think sometimes they think that just because they put up an ad and whatever that result or whatever that number is the actual the is it's the same. It's similar, but it's not the same. And so I'm curious on how you learned how to run your own ads, and then if you run your own ads, like what ultimately the made you decide to partner with us.
Well, I had a buddy who was more, and I mean, I still talk to the guy, still a great guy, Bobby, and he helped me set up the first one. And so I was like, okay, I see the potential behind this. And I mean, I was writing good numbers off of it. And I still run it. I still run it. I still write deals off of it. I'm actually getting ready to hand it off to a couple of my new guys because I just don't have time to manage those anymore. And then, but seeing that, and I'd seen you guys online, I'm not going to lie, quite a few times before. And so I finally reached out, and the first person I spoke with was Mitchell, and then he connected me with Jack, and we broke everything down in detail. And because I told him, I said, "Listen, I'm a numbers guy. I'm a step by step processes guy. So make it stupid simple for me. Check every box, and then if it makes sense, I'll pull the trigger." And it made sense. They said literally the only way you're going to fail is if you just don't work based on how you're presenting yourself and the way that you talk and everything right now. So I said, okay, well, how much is it? They told me. I said, perfect, let's get the ball rolling. How soon? And within 5 days, everything was up and rolling. And that first week, I wrote 11,000. So I was like, oh, okay, yep, we got something here. Let's keep going.
Yeah. So
That
let's
was
talk
it.
about that part, right? Because as a business owner, right? Because you're definitely a business owner, entrepreneur, and you were in an entrepreneur scenario, but definitely an entrepreneur because you're an operator. And so I'm curious on how you could justify that, because you could generate your own, but you need the right business and you're trying to scale, and then you got a little bit coming out here. So for those people that are like you that are watching this, it's like, well, I could just generate my own. Why would you want to partner with Arturo? What's kind of your rationale with how you made it make sense for yourself?
Because it opened up more time for me to handle back office things that were going to make me more money in the long run. So delegation is a challenge for me. I won't lie. It is. Um, and it's not because of the fact that I don't want to. It's because until somebody is shown that they can be trusted,
Competency.
even though I might, your words, not mine. That no, but that until somebody has proven to me that they can be a good business partner, even though they don't work for me and I don't work for them, but we have a mutual and respected goal between the two of us. It's a challenge to hand stuff off because you hear so much talk, so much talk. But the guys, Mitchell and Jack, I mean, they were on it, constantly communicating, constantly communicating. So that made me sit there and go. And then you called me and we spoke once before I ever actually, met you. And then that's what made me say, okay, I can actually hand this off. Trust that it's going to be good. They've already said, hey, if there's ever anything that you see that needs to be tweaked, something's not working the way that you think it should, let us know. Don't hesitate. Perfect. Got it. Great. I'm going to drive you crazy with that, just so you know up front because of how I think. But you'll see why. And, obviously over time this year, you guys have seen why I operate the way that I do. And it was once I built that trust and it was mutual on both sides, it was easy to hand it off. So I could focus on keeping clients on the books, building the book of business, working the referrals, and making sure that everything was streamlined. So it just made more sense to say, right now my focus needs to be here, and as my focus stays here and I trust them to handle what they need to on their end, I know my production is going to go up no matter what. The only way it's not is if I just start slacking.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, man. And so again, the attention to detail, but like the one thing I do appreciate about you is that like you don't have higher expectations for other people than you do for yourself, right?
Never.
It's like I'm gonna work my tail off, and I expect you to live up to what you promise. And so that's kind of what I want to transition into, because we hear all the time that this industry makes more millionaires than any other industry, and that's kind of glamorized. And for that to be true, in addition to it being sales, the missing part to that equation is that variable of you, right? Putting in the work, the attention to detail, not having shiny object syndrome, showing up every day, being humble, being coachable, right? Having thick skin, going through the ups and the downs. So I'm just curious on from you what your perspective is. Did you have that pie in the sky perspective coming in, or were you told exactly how it was going to be coming into the business? And then,
No,
after that, after you answer that, like, what were some things that you just wished you would have known right out the gate that would have probably let you move a lot faster, and you probably could have got to 100K a lot faster than you did?
lead gen, above all else, lead gen. I'll say that till the day is long. And then I've always been structured, but like in this specific instance, because I knew I needed to like stack as much as I could from a financial side. And I'm still in a lot of mindset respects in accumulation mode, because I don't want to bring people on and start, trying to train them if I'm going to end up taking a massive hit on my own personal production. And that's not to be hateful towards anybody that I do work with. It's that they should respect that mentality, because if all of a sudden I can't give them, good quality coaching consistently, and I'm freaking out all the time because my production's dipping, but I thought, oh man, I'm going to bring all these people on. Well, that's just bad business management. And so when I started getting into that stack mindset, the one thing I did not do immediately that I should have, and I would have been able to get to 100K a month a lot faster, was structure out specific time for not for follow up, with people that didn't write and all that, but for if anybody missed a premium payment, et cetera, making sure touching base, which I have all that in place now. But for the first 2 or 3 months when I was really growing on a production scale, I didn't do that. I had a bunch of other stuff in place, but that was the one thing to maintain persistency that I sometimes was scatterbrained, scatter organized, whatever you want to call it. And that's the one thing that if I can ever impart to anybody, is because my persistency is good. I just had to chase a lot of people down because I didn't have protocol in place to make sure they didn't fall off.
Yeah, for sure. So good, so good. So, I know some people be watching this, in like 107,000 in a month seems like insane. Like those numbers are just like, wait, in 1 month, not in a year, in a month. But what I want to do is I want to talk about what, from your experience, since you've done it, because that's the only thing we can go off of, what it
Yeah.
takes in order to hit numbers like that and be consistent every single month, getting close to writing 1 million of insurance on your own pen. What does it take in order to be able to do that, in your estimation and in your experience, based on the way you do things?
You have to have a set consistent schedule. I mean, you have to, because if you don't have a set plan of attack day in and day out, if you don't have a consistent plan A, then you'll never be able to roll and pivot to plan B, because you won't have the time to be flexible when things come up. You're going to just be, everything's going to fall apart, and it's a house of cards. So day in and day out, you have to have the same schedule. You have to have the same routine. You have to have the same focus. There are 2 days a week now where all I do is I set aside an hour and I'm calling, people, checking in, and people that might have, missed a premium payment here and there, but they've also gotten enough communication from me otherwise where they know I stay on top of things because I actually care. I mean, 90% of these people don't have any coverage, or they got sold some snake oil by somebody else, and we had to make sure we saved them, really. So that's number one above all else is consistency and schedule. Consistency and schedule. You cannot say like 1 month, oh, I did 60,000. I wrote, not did, wrote, because you don't get all that up front. I wrote 60,000. I deposited, um, 45, 46, whatever the case may be. And then all of a sudden the next month you're like, oh, I'm going to take a little time off here and there. I'm going to take, yeah, I mean, if you want to take a day, cool, to recharge and regroup and all that. But if you're going to say, I'm going to change my whole schedule, get ready for your production to literally cut in half. You have to have a consistent schedule, consistent routine. You have to. Like, I start my appointments at 8 a.m. and I'm running them till 7 p.m. Central. And I had a gentleman sent me a text on Saturday and said, hey, is there any way you'd be willing to do a 7 a.m. Central, 8 a.m. my time? I said, absolutely. And those will happen periodically. Sometimes I'll have somebody that lives in Hawaii. They need a 5 o'clock their time. That's 10 my time. It's not very common, but it does happen. And if you have a set schedule, then those little outliers don't affect you as much.
Man, that's gold. So, as we kind of wrap this one up, you know,
Yeah.
this video is going to be shown to over 100,000. That's on our list of insurance agents, probably more north of 130,000 insurance agents. And some people may watch this and it's like, man, I love his journey, I love his story. Want to connect with him, want to learn more about him and what he's doing, and maybe want to get under the tutelage and help you build something big. Because I know you're just kind of moving from just a sole production phase to now growth phase where you want to share this opportunity and build something really, really big and amazing
Yeah.
with a few other A players. So who are you looking for, right? And if you could just talk through who you're looking for and what they can expect if they come to work with you.
People that can actually be honest about what they are going to, not willing to, but going to put in when it comes to the day-to-day operations and day-to-day work. Because a lot of times, and I'm not ever going to say I wasn't this guy. I'm sure I was when I was younger. It just bit me in the butt so many times that I ended up getting away from it and realizing, oh, you can't do that because people are going to find out you're full of crap. you know, if you say you're going to do something, do it. Let your word be your bond. If you say, hey, my goal is to write 100,000, okay, great. But what do you know in 100,000 in a month, half a million a year, whatever. Okay. But how much time do you know you can actually put into that? Because you'll hear somebody say, however much time I have to. And then 2 months later, they burn out and they crap out. And then they're gone. And because you care about them as a person, you're trying to help them and motivate them. But they're like, oh, I'm just done and all that. No, be 100% dead on serious about what you know you are capable of actually doing. And then, because the thing is, once somebody says, I know I can commit XYZ, perfect. Now we're going to put that in writing. That's going to be an agreement between you and I, because if you're not working for me, you're working with me. All right. And if you're going to sit there and say, I'm going to commit to XYZ, okay, well, we're a team here. So, like, you see somebody slacking on defense out on the basketball court and they let their guy score. Well, okay, that's going to affect the team as a whole, because if they continuously do that, guess what? You're going to lose the game. I don't want to lose the game. I want to win. But the only way I can do that is if everybody is holding themselves first and foremost accountable, and then holding each other accountable if somebody's starting to slack a little bit. So that's why, tell me exactly what you know you can commit to. And then the funny thing is, as you prove that you can hold true to that, you'll find out you're capable of 10 to 20
So much
times
more.
more, because you held true to your word. And once you find out that your purpose is becoming a better version of yourself and a better version of who you see you can be in the future, day in and day out, you're not always going to succeed. There are going to be days that you're going to fall on your face. I still do. But as you continue to do that, you're going to say, holy crap, I never thought I had this much potential. Like, full transparency, Arturo, I don't live in Kansas near family, and I love them. I mean, obviously, I'm here. Grandma passed away. I love them. But part of the reason I had no problem moving away to figure stuff out for myself was because of the fact that I knew I could be capable of so much more, but it was too comfortable and it was too easy to make excuses. And I started seeing people in my family doing that
Mm,
with each other. And I'm going, if I'm ever going to make something of myself on the scale I know I can't be around where it's easy to make an excuse and not pony up and hold myself accountable.
man, that's so good. That's so good. Focus on becoming the best version of yourself every single day. So if you're somebody who feels like you got another level to go to, that you're at a place where you kind of plateaued and you know that there's a bigger goal, bigger calling, something else out there that you can be doing bigger, right? You can reach out to Jeremy. And Jeremy, where if somebody's watching this and like, okay, what you just said was a call to arms and you're talking exactly to me, where can people connect with you, reach out to you, and get your information?
Uh, you can text me or call me. Just if you call me, make sure you leave me a voicemail because if I don't recognize it, I won't answer it. My phone number is my business line, I should say, is 469 469 5581. That's legit. When I moved to Texas and changed my business line, that's what I got. 469 469 5581. So call me, leave me a voicemail, text me with your name, your number. I'd love to set up an opportunity to speak with you. My email is jeremy.h. So Jeremy first name .h for last name Hayes. Jeremy.h at growthinsurancegroup.com, because
Yeah,
that's the name of the insurance side of the business, is Growth Insurance Group, because I believe people need to be protected from birth to death. And if you're not growing, you're standing still. I don't want to
yeah,
do that.
for sure. Well, Jeremy, this has been golden. And by the way, we'll get a special link for Jeremy to put at the bottom of this video. But for those that are overachievers that I know are going to watch this, that are inspired by Jeremy's story and wants to speak with him, they'll go ahead and call. But we'll have a link that you can use to book a call to speak with Jeremy based off of what you saw from this video. Jeremy, man, you are the epitome of a rainmaker, brother. Again, thank you so much for two things. One, for holding us accountable and holding yourself accountable and putting in the work, because you are definitely a rainmaker. And for two, for being so amazing to trust in us when you were trying to do all these things on your own and you were like, you know what, I'm going to delegate this part of my business to an expert so that I can focus on growing, and it has unlocked a lot of things for you. So I know the best is yet to come, brother. Thanks again for hopping on the Rainmaker
Appreciate it.
podcast.
Always, Arturo. God bless you, sir. Thank you.
All right, man. Take care.
Take care.